Finally, we have the video that should have been my New Year's Day special, but I'm gonna count it as my first of 20. I can still count it. It's still technically New Year. It's only been like what 7 days, like the movie. Of course, it says how much charged. Yep, 7th. So I'm only 7 days late, only a week late. But I want to get this one out a while ago. I feel like I would have had time to do it. I don't know why I didn't think I would have. But this video is going over all the image books I've read in my personal collection from the year 2024. And honestly, it wasn't really a New Year special. It was just kind of going over books I'd read in 2024. So if anything, we're still good. It's not like I'm doing this in February or March or in April. I'm doing this in January still. It's only 7 days also. Nice little pile here. But yeah, there's all the books I've read that are in my personal collection that are also from Image. Now, the other criteria, if I can remember, my brain can kick in. There are some... Nope, that's not from the library. Oh, why Image? Well, this is the publisher I like the most. Of course, there's more they've read from 2024, but I wanted to do my favorite publisher, and that I think is Image. So far as indies are concerned, but even not with that being put into consideration, I still think they're my favorite publisher just because of how their business standpoint. It's always like creator-owned stuff. There's no catch whatsoever about that. Creators get every single penny that they earn from that comic, or if you get auctioned to the movie, to get every cent of that. From what I can tell, I know like studios, they sell like Black Science, Universal Studios. I think Universal gets a cut of that money. I'm not 100% sure, but I know that they get a good chunk. If you write something, if you're Robert Kirkman, you're swimming in the money basically. I believe at least. But anyways, he has to be. He wrote one of the most groundbreaking comics of all time. 2, actually, if you count Invincible. But without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we have... Oh, and these are all trades, by the way, except for one, which is an exception, because I had the first 6 issues in floppies and the rest of the series in trades. So obviously, because I want to show all 3 volumes of that series, I'm going to have the first 6 issues shown in floppies, because that's how I read it. So I had to do it that way. But first up is Mac Smith's Scurry. Now this is one, and also I'm gonna show the interior artwork, like how I do this with a comic haul video. That's a one-time thing. Usually when I'm doing comic reviews, I don't usually show the interior artwork unless I'm making a point. But here, no matter what, I'll show the interior artwork. So written and drawn by Mac Smith, and this was an insanely good comic. I've read this, I want to say 3 times now, and it's one of those books that, even though the library had it, I had to buy it myself because of how much I loved this comic. It was a long time coming because I kept saying to myself, the library has it, I know we got in these books, the library has, but this is, there's so many exceptions. I think it's because it's a kid's book, so I don't want to get so many kids' books. It's kind of like, it's a way to budget myself, but I decided to hell with it. They're going to break all the rules because of how much I just loved Scurry. This is basically a survival tale. These mice trying to survive from this cat. That's all I'll say, because it has one of the best twists I've ever read in a comic. Like, even I didn't see coming. And honestly, like, reading this book, I had to keep reminding myself that this is the same age demographic as Dogman. Like, people that read Dogman and Wimpy Kid, and those are all, like, really, like, Dogman I don't think ever gets at all dark. I know Wimpy Kid never got dark. The darkest that it got was, like, I don't even know, like, maybe the brothers got in a huge fight. That was it. I think the most I did was they explained how, like, estranged family members, that there was, like, an uncle that they were estranged from, but that was, like, brief, and that wasn't even, like, explored that much and all that well, explored well enough. It wasn't, like, the point is, something like this that is pretty damn dark, it's funny to me to think that it's the same age demographic as Wimpy Kid, which is just with junk food for kids. Honestly, I love that series. Have not read I have not read any of the newer books. I would say I stopped after Meltdowns. I read the first 14 or so Wimpy Kid books, and I stopped after that. But it is junk food for kids. I think even Wimpy Kid diehard fans need to admit that those books are just junk food for kids. They have nothing, like I said, I was talking about this, I don't remember what video. Fairly recently, I had said that it's going to be near impossible for a kid to do a good book report on Diary of a Wimpy Kid. It's just nothing to it. It's just a just a kid writing his diary about his relatable moments in middle school. Relatable, not moments, but what's the, come on, brain. Relatable, it's relatable elements in elements. You know what I mean? Experiences. There's relatable experiences in middle school. That's all Wimpy Kid is. But this crazy thing as same age demographic as those two books. Dogman, I can't say because I've not read a single Dogman. If it is that juvenile as juveniles, I think it will be. But based off the fact that it's written by the same guy who wrote Captain Underpants, I gotta say it's probably that juvenile. They have at least one dog pissing on the fire hydrant joke at least once in the entire series. I guess I'd have to admit. I feel like it's. Moving on. I'm stuttering and already failing. Alright. Outpost Zero. This is one I probably should have reread, because this is one I read once, and honestly, the only reason why I have this in my personal collection is because I bought it at the same time that I bought Scurry, so I found it kind of ironic that, I have Scurry and Outpost Zero. Both are pretty damn thick, and both are the same format, it's just digest size, and both are for, I guess, around the same age demographic. This is honest, so this one right here says 8 to 12 middle grade, 8+. Rated 8+, middle grade. That's what it says in the back. This one is rated 14+. And ironically enough, this one is leaps and bounds more mature than this one is. This feels like a CW show in all the worst parts. For me, at least. That's been my first read-through of it. But Sean McKelly-McKeever, that should not be a thing that I say about any of his work. Because he also wrote a book called The Waiting Place, and that was it was not juvenile at all. It was definitely, it was because they had a lot more cursing in it, so it was definitely made for intended for 17 and up, because they used the F word a lot, and I think there was some nudity. It's very sketchy artwork, so it's not very detailed at all, but I think there was some nudity. I could be wrong though. Definitely sexual content. It's definitely 17 and up, but that was just you read that comic, and as long as you take out all the the more vulgar parts of it, and you try to make it a 14 and up book, or you just pray, or you just beg them enough to put a 14 up sticker on it, in a sense that these kids already know about the stuff anyway, so why hide it? Then there should be no excuse whatsoever that this is as not immature, but as wonky as it is. The dialogue is not the kids do not seem like real kids. The dialogue is really off a lot of times, but it is one I will consider rereading, most likely this year. So if I had to give a score so far, Scurry I give it 9.5 out of 10. This one I give a 5 out of 10, maybe even a 4. Next up, we have all 3 volumes of Family Tree. So again, so if you want to be specific about it, it's actually the first 4 issues that are in one volume, and then each consecutive volume collects 4 more issues for a total of 12. So I have half the series in floppies. But did I show the artwork for Outpost Zero? I don't think I did. Okay, Outpost Zero artwork. I know we're wonky and we're off topic and we failed already, but we're not going to care, because this is called a unedited YouTube video. And here's the artwork for Family Tree, written by Jeff Lemire. I'm not going to go over the artist. This is not a comic haul. This is a comic review video. I know I should be doing that, but I don't think it's that much of a deal. That big a deal. But Family Tree, I've reviewed this fairly recently, so I will keep it as brief as I possibly can. Everyone who likes Jeff Lemire should check this out. Even then, this is a perfect introduction into Jeff Lemire's writing style. This is absolutely fantastic. A 8 out of 10 underrated book too, I may add, but extremely underrated. Everyone should read this series at least once. And it's honestly I would say it's even though the volumes are very thin, I think it's worth every penny. It's $15, which is borderline expensive. But hey, at least it's not like $16.99 like that Hannah Rosemary comic was. That's also from Image, and actually came out after Family Tree did, so it shouldn't be as expensive. Not like too long after either. I can't remember the name of the comic though. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Family Tree, like an easy 8 out of 10. I think 8 out of 10 is a bit too low for it. I would say 8.5. Next up, we have all 9 volumes of. Oh wait, go backwards. Hang on. I mean, you guys should know if you've been keeping up with my channel. You should know how much. Oh, you should know how much. You should know, be doing the math in your head. Like, okay, this series has 9 volumes. Oh, he's talking about this one? Yes, I am. And that is Black Science. All 9 volumes. All written by Rick Remender. I'll show the artwork. In this series, it's one of those that I really do feel like you kind of have to read all at once. You can't take any breaks from it. You have to read at least 1 issue per day to remember what's going on. And even then, it's one of those books you're going to want to reread and reread and reread so you can catch even more details. Like, I, technically speaking, can't do a full review of Black Science because there's definitely a lot of details that I missed my first time around. That's just what this comic is. But it's in a good way. Like, it's one of those books that you do want to own. Maybe even in the best format possible, but I don't mind owning this in trades. So you can get so you can get the best experience possible for the series. This is just as good as people are saying it is. The ending, I would say, is kind of strange, but I liked it enough. And it's one of those series that just keeps going. Like, as it goes along, it gets even better and even better and even better. And as you're reading each consecutive volume, you're wondering to yourself, how can it possibly get better than this? And it gets better than this. Absolute masterpiece, and 9 out of 10. Now, I don't know what the point is of me showing. Well, I guess I could show you how many volumes are in the series. But because I'm not doing like, oh, volume 2 is separate with volume 2. No, it's not any different. I mean, of course, as it went along, it got better, but I wouldn't say like it was just got better as it went along. No, it's not like the first 3 volumes weren't as good, and then the 4th through 6th were really, really good, and no, just as each volume came along, it got even better, I would say. In general. Now, this one, I only have read volume 1, so only be showing off Scott Snyder's Undiscovered Country. This is the volume 1, the first volume. Then artwork. Then Undiscovered Country is one of those that I was mostly impressed with. It's not anything that I'm like eagerly anticipating reading the next volume. When I read it, I was like, you know what, I'm glad I own the series, because it was one of those series that for the longest time I didn't really like it. It took me a lot to get into the series. It is a lot of, it really is like that kind of sci-fi comic where it's a lot that happens, and if you don't like the characters, kind of a bit, the characters are a bit flat, and I honestly, like, they could kill off a character and I wouldn't care. There's no characters I really got too attached to, but it does flow very nicely. The pacing is pretty top-notch. I was never truly bored my 50th reread of the series. And even in my first read-through, the first 4 issues, that's what I had at the time in floppy form. No, I'm not really strong with the floppies. My first read-through was definitely... I always liked bits and pieces of those first 4 issues. It got more and more as it went along, and now I say like pretty much the entire thing, but definitely not anything I highly recommend or think anyone should rush out to purchase or anything like that. I would say if you have, I think you can probably get that all 5 volumes for like $60, I'd say, roughly. If you have $60 to spend and you really like Scott Snyder's, or you really like Scott Snyder's writing, then I'd say pick this up. Oh, and it's co-written by Trey also, but I think it's more Scott Snyder than anything. He's billed first, so. Shadecraft. This is written by Joe Henderson, and I think it's the exact same creative team, Letterer included, as Skyward. Now, Skyward I did not read within the last year, so obviously I can't show that one off. But I would say, well, this is not as good as Skyward. It is still a pretty solid book. I saw every last twist coming, and I think it's a smidgen and a bit too insulting for its age demographic. Almost like it's like, you didn't see that coming. We're so clever. It definitely at times I definitely at times felt like this comic thought it was more clever than it actually was. But all in all, those are nitpicks. I really did like the story. A little bit like, not like, again, like with Undiscovered Country, but less so. I never got too attached to the characters, but I did want to see what's going to happen next. I did, even though I could tell each twist that was coming, there were a couple of things I didn't see coming. Not huge, and not anything grandiose, but something where I was like, okay. This is another one that I read recently, so I want to keep it brief, and that is A Man Among Ye, Volumes 1 and 2. One thing I'll mention I didn't mention last time is that this is based off a true story. Anne Bonny was an actual pirate back in the day. So that being said, is this the treatment that this real life character deserves? I don't know. It's hugely entertaining, but it's something groundbreaking. But it is. I like Stephanie Phillips' writing as who wrote this, Stephanie Phillips. So I may be like, I shouldn't be the best one to review this comic, but I also, because obviously I'm gonna like it if I haven't hated anything Stephanie Phillips has written, except for the first time I read Grimm and Rogue Gambit. I thought those are huge disappointing books. But this one, I first read through it, I liked it. I liked it enough. I thought 8 issues was enough to tell a story, but I would also kind of like to see more, but also I'm kind of glad it's only 8 issues. And then I'm going to just go through them all and do the out of 10 review, because I'm obviously forgetting to do that. And I know I showed the artwork. Of course, my brain wants to tell me, no, you didn't. You gotta do it again. Here's the artwork for Man Among Ye. I almost said Skyward. So the next 2 are ones that I read recently, and actually I only have 3 total left. The first one being Golden Rage by Chrissy Williams. And again, like I did with all the others, I'm going to keep these brief. This one I liked. A little bit all over the place, and there's like a lot of things that happen in this comic that they don't explain, and it's kind of like, you can't do that thing where you don't explain it, you just expect us to know. And when they do kind of explain it, it's still very wonky, and it's like, I don't even know what you're even talking about, but okay. But other than that, it's a pretty damn entertaining book. I know I keep using that word, but that's what this book is. It's a pretty fun book. That isn't trying to be anything too grandiose and or groundbreaking, and I appreciate that. It knows what it is, and it sticks with it. But however, I would like a lot more action, because it's advertised as being a lot more action-packed than it actually is. It's more about the survival than about the action itself, which I'm fine with. But, and I knew I kind of, as it went along, I suspected that's what it was going to be. I'd say after the first issue, I suspected it was going to be a lot slower. So I was fine with it. But all in all, a pretty enjoyable book. So New Masters is the next one. It's written by Shobo. It just says Shobo. Doesn't say any first or last name. Actually, it's Shobo Coker. That much I remember. Yeah, Shobo Coker. Actually, that's good too. The artist. Gotcha. Okay. So here's the artwork for New Masters. I know you showed it, but I forgot. I did it already. Until I showed it off. I was like, wait, I didn't do this. So this is actually called New Masters Volume 1, The Eye of Aurin Nilla. For whatever reason, sometimes Image will have what the title is called on the spine, and on the front they'll say, oh, it's called New Masters, it's Volume 1. But they won't give a tagline unless it's on the spine. Some don't. Some will just say Golden Rage Volume 1, but some will have some will say, like, New Masters Volume 1, The Eye of Aurin Nilla, however you say it. Aurin Nilla. But this one is really damn interesting. Definitely was. This is a great example of something I read the first time. I didn't really like it, but then I read it again, and my thoughts completely changed. The first time I read this book, I was honestly like, a small part of me was like, I am glad I only spent $10.99 on this book. But when I read it for the second time, I was like, it's a shame that it was just such a slow-selling book that they had to mark it down at a discounted price. Because I think this is one that should have been read by a lot more people. Definitely worth checking out if you like sci-fi. And it feels somewhat And everybody said, "Oh, this is from this sci-fi series. This is taken from this sci-fi series." Sure, there are a lot of similarities you can make, but it felt like more of like its own thing, while also having like things that obviously other sci-fi comics are bound to have. That's how sci-fi is. It's how every genre is. Every genre, no matter how good a movie is in its own genre, comic or book or video game, whatever, we're always gonna have those tropes. It's just what you do with them that makes or breaks your movie. And last but not least, Rick Remender's Death or Glory. Yes, I should put this right before right after Black Science. Instead of having it be New Masters and then Death or Glory, it should have been Black Science and then Death or Glory. But whatever. Now this is the biggest book I have from Image. These are the absolutes, which are even taller than your omnibuses. And for something like this, I can't say if it like deserves this oversized treatment. The artwork is pretty good, being done by Bengal, but the story itself was kind of lacking. One that's definitely worth rereading, but I thought it was lacking. I thought it was kind of disappointing, if anything. Like, it kind of felt like Rick Remender almost wrote this in his sleep. It wasn't super boring, but I was never never a page turner for me, except for the first scene or so, because that's like one of those, not cold opens, one of those opening scenes that gets you right into the action, gets you right into the story, and you're hooked right then and there. But unfortunately, I don't think they ever follow up on that opening. Whatever the opposite of a cold opening, that's what it was. Alright, so now we're going to go through them all again, and I'm going to give you my out of 10 score. Starting with Scurry, which gets a 9.5 out of 10. Outpost Zero gets a 6 out of 10. Family Tree, it's obviously the entire series. I'm not going to say Volume 1 gets a 6 out of 10. Volume 2 gets a 7 out of 10. No, it's the entire series itself. Family Tree gets a 9 out of 10. Black Science gets a 9.5 out of 10. So I just realized Undiscovered Country was attached to the end. Undiscovered Country, 6 out of 10. Maybe even a little bit lower, but not very much. 5.5 at the worst. Shadecraft, 6.5 out of 10. Men Among Ye, 7.5 out of 10. Golden Rage, 8 out of 10. New Masters, 9 out of 10. And then last but not least, but maybe actually, is Death or Glory, and that gets a 7 out of 10. And that, as I say, is that. A video I thought would take me forever to publish, I got done in 23 minutes. Wow, that was quick. Awesome. Nice quick video for you guys. But I'm going to get at least 25 minutes, because I'm going to count how many we have total here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 so far. Stack it neatly as I can. 15, 16, 17, 18. I count that as 19. 19, 20, 21 comics if you count Family Tree floppies as being one. No, the first 4 issues being its own trade, and then the next 2 trades collecting the last 6 issues. But that, as I say, is that.